Hi, my name is Alicia Shapiro. I'm with AInews.com, and today I'm with Mohamed Elgendy, the CEO and founder of Kolena. Mohamed, please tell us about Kolena and what you do at the company.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alicia, for having me here. So we are an AI quality platform. We're building an infrastructure for AI companies to be able to rigorously test their models and AI systems before they go to their customers or go to the users, and then make sure to monitor the system accurately as you are going that. So through this process, we have been through a lot of testing. Has been one of the bigger challenges. Understanding the model, how the model is going to perform. Production is one of the things. It's like a black box. We talk about a lot about the black box. So we were able to build a platform that is plug and play to the customers or the machine learning teams infrastructure that allows them to build a rigorous quality process, like how we do software. So you have beta testing and regression testing and go into all components, and that without the overhead on the data science team or we have to go through that. It's actually accelerating the process of quality validation from weeks to few hours.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're very excited about it.
Yeah. And Kolena is revolutionizing how machine learning teams approach model testing. Can you share a specific example where Kolena helped identify a critical failure mode that traditional testing methods might have missed?
Yeah, we see a lot of these examples. One example that come to mind before even we started the company, that was in our prototype. We were working at three founders were working at an AI startup building weapon detection systems for X-ray machines. So think security and other airports and other security checkpoints. So when you go to the airport, we built a system that detects guns and other prohibited items with 99% accuracy. This is from our internal testing, right? So, and then we went to the customer, and then it was in one of the airports with the TSA. We demoed the system, and then in the test number one, they're just checking, okay, does it work? So somebody just dropped the gun in an empty bin and passed it through the X-ray machine. So the gun was this big on the screen. It was so apparent, but the system missed it. So when we go ahead and say our systems are 99% confident in doing something, we really don't know how because every item or that you're detecting or every case that you're generating, if it's in generative models, it has a lot of nuances, a lot of scenarios, a lot of sub cases, so that you have to deal with this. So the gun is on its own. There's tons on this example. There's tons of scenarios for this gun. It could be a gun, an empty bin that you didn't test for, or a gun under a computer, occluded, different orientations. There's hundreds of cases that are always hidden when we're looking at just this aggregate metric. So we adopted the concept of unit testing for machine learning. Unit testing is a known concept in software engineering, so that you can test each unit at a time or each line of code at a time.
Okay.
In machine learning, the context here is not on the lines of code. It's about the objects that you're detecting or the case that you're generating for and the scenarios of that. If you're building a chatbot, that's another case. If let's say you're building an LLM that's customer facing for a healthcare company. Now that one of the risks here is that generative model cannot give a healthcare advice. Now that's an edge case here. And then that can be triggered by the user asking different questions, but you still cannot give a healthcare advice. So now when you say 99% confidence or 100% confidence that doesn't give healthcare advice, there's tons of nuances in that you have to rigorously test it in an automated fashion.
Right.
These are usually the examples we see as like how granular, how confident you are in the performance of your AI system before you give it out to your users.
Right. And do you have a metric that measures that? Like, do you say, oh, nothing below 80% or whatever?
Yes. So we actually were leading the effort here with the industry in creating a gold standard for AI1. And that has to be domain specific. The goal for this gold standard, when we talk to engineers and data scientists and leaders and even buyers, they want to put in the work, but the question is, what is good enough? How do I test it? What are the risks and what is good enough? So that gold standard here has 4 sections or 4 properties. One is the risks and use cases. What are the risks from this technology for that domain? And what are the use cases for that? So that's number 1. And then number 2 is, what's the test methodology? Is different for each risk. One has to be humanly tested. One is metrics. There's more of deterministic metrics, and then others that are AI has to test, or others or human in the loop. So now you've got to you identify the risks and use cases. You want to identify the test methodology, and then the metrics. To your point, which in which here we have built-in metrics that we provide, and we allow users or data scientists to build their own custom metrics. And the third thing is, what's the pass or fail criteria for this?
Right.
If you have a wait time for a chatbot of 10 seconds, that can be acceptable. If you have a wait time for an autonomous vehicle for 10 seconds to respond. That's not acceptable. So this is where it gets like what is the metric and what's the acceptable buffer for this or range for this use case for that domain.
I see. That makes sense. And Kolena's mission focuses on ensuring the quality, reliability, and security of AI products, like we were just talking about. But what are the biggest challenges you've encountered in achieving this, and how does Kolena address those?
The biggest challenges is, like we said, we have different domains. Like the technology itself is evolving very fast. So us as a technology or infrastructure company for this technology, we have to evolve as fast, if not ahead, right? So that's number one. And number two is every application for every domain, for every organization has its own nuances. So for us as an infrastructure company, that we need to understand that we need to be opinionated where we need to be opinionated, like the metrics, the quality criteria, the framework, and we need to provide the flexibility where it's needed so that these teams are able to add in their use cases and find in the value that they're looking for. So figuring out this balance of opinionated enough to provide value and unopinionated enough or flexible enough to provide the integration visibility to the use cases was one of the biggest challenges that we're facing as we are covering one case at a time.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Mohamed, for joining us today and sharing your insights. It's been a pleasure learning about the exciting work you're doing. For more interviews and the latest on AI news, you can be sure to check out ainews.com.